For yourself, learn to live without onion. Introduction. The moment you start living for yourself, you'll realize you've been waiting for permission that was never needed. Most of us live our lives based on what others expect from us. We seek approval, validation, and sometimes even change ourselves to fit someone else's mold. But living like this often leaves us feeling lost, empty, and disconnected from who we truly are. What if you could start living for yourself? What if you could make choices based on your own desires and needs, without worrying about what others think or expect? This book is about showing you that it's not only possible but necessary to live authentically and independently. It's about learning to stand strong on your own, to trust your instincts, and to let go of the need for constant approval. In this book, you'll discover the power that comes with letting go of dependency on others. You'll understand how to build confidence, set boundaries, and reclaim control of your life. Most importantly, you'll learn how to create your own happiness and live a life that's entirely your own. No more waiting for permission, no more holding back. It's time to live for yourself. Chapter 1. Defining what it means to live for yourself. Living for yourself starts with understanding exactly what that means. It's about choosing to be in charge of your own life, free from the influence of others' expectations. For many people, this idea is a little foreign. We grow up listening to other people's opinions and letting them shape the decisions we make. From a young age, we're taught that success looks a certain way, relationships should meet certain standards, and happiness depends on meeting others' approval. But when you decide to live for yourself, you shift the focus from what others want or think to what you truly need and desire. Imagine waking up each day and making choices based on what feels right to you, not because you want to meet someone else's idea of what's best. Living for yourself is about stopping the cycle of living for everyone else and learning how to live for you based on your values, your desires, and your goals. It means stepping into a life where you trust yourself, your instincts, and your ability to make decisions that serve your happiness. This isn't about pushing others away or rejecting all outside influence. It's about tuning into your own voice amidst the noise. When you stop living for others, you realize how much power you've been giving away. You stop seeking validation and approval from people who have no say in your happiness. The freedom that comes from this shift is liberating. When you make decisions with no one's opinion clouding your thoughts, you begin to trust yourself more. It's easy to get caught up in the idea that we need to follow a script, get a certain job, live a certain way, look a certain way. We look to others to tell us how to live, and often it's exhausting trying to meet all of their expectations. But the truth is, their opinions are just that, opinions. They don't define who you are or what you can achieve. You do. The first step to truly living for yourself is acknowledging that it's okay to make choices based on your own desires. It doesn't make you selfish, it makes you authentic. You've probably spent a lot of time trying to meet other people's needs, adjusting your behavior to fit into the world around you. And while caring about others is important, it's equally important to care about yourself. You can't pour from an empty cup. If you're constantly seeking approval or living for others, you'll find yourself drained, frustrated, and disconnected from what you truly want. Living for yourself means you get to decide what success looks like. What does success mean to you? Is it a career in a specific field, a certain lifestyle? Or is it about finding balance and peace in your everyday life? Success isn't one size fits all. What feels successful to you might not align with someone else's version, and that's perfectly okay. What matters is that you start defining success in your own terms and build your life around it. One of the hardest parts of this journey is letting go of the belief that your worth is tied to others' opinions. We all want to be liked, to fit in, to belong. It's natural to seek approval from those around us, but it's also important to understand that your value doesn't depend on meeting anyone else's expectations. Your worth is inherent. It's not something that's given to you by others, and it can't be taken away by them either. When you start living for yourself, you'll encounter situations that challenge this. People may question your choices, or you may feel the pull of old habits that tell you to please others. That's when it becomes important to remember why you've chosen this path. The more you prioritize your needs, the more you become accustomed to making decisions based on your values, not others' opinions. It's also about learning how to trust yourself. Trust that you have the ability to make decisions, to handle mistakes, and to learn from them. When you give yourself permission to make mistakes and still trust that you're capable of growing from them, you step into a place of personal power. Mistakes are just part of the journey. They don't define you. What matters is how you bounce back, how you grow, and how you keep moving forward. Another aspect of living for yourself is understanding that you are responsible for your own happiness. So many of us have been conditioned to believe that happiness comes from external sources: getting a job, finding a partner, having the right amount of money in the bank. While those things can contribute to your happiness, true happiness comes from within. It's about how you view yourself, your ability to find contentment in your own life, and your capacity to create joy on your own terms. This doesn't mean you have to do everything alone. In fact, relationships are essential to life. But it's important to remember that no one can complete you or make you whole. Only you can do that. And when you truly understand this, you stop relying on others to fill gaps in your life. You start recognizing that the power to create the life you want is in your hands. Living for yourself also means getting comfortable with being alone at times. We often seek distractions to avoid being alone with our thoughts. But when you take the time to be alone, without distractions or the need for validation from others, you can truly connect with yourself. You can listen to your inner voice and reflect on what you really want from life. Being comfortable with solitude is key to gaining clarity and understanding what matters most to you. You also learn to set boundaries when you live for yourself. You'll realize that you can't please everyone, and that's okay. Boundaries are about protecting your energy and making sure that you're not overcommitting to things or people that drain you. Setting boundaries allows you to focus on what's important to you and live with intention. Living for yourself isn't about being selfish or ignoring the needs of others. It's about putting yourself first when you need to, and recognizing that by doing so, you're in a better position to give to others. When you're filled with your own sense of purpose and direction, you're more equipped to show up fully for those around you. The goal isn't to live in isolation or push people away. The goal is to live authentically and in alignment with your true self. When you live for yourself, you stop living in reaction to others. You start living with purpose, with clarity, and with an understanding that your life is your own to shape. It's not about being perfect, but about being true to yourself in every decision you make. As you begin to live for yourself, you'll start to notice changes. You'll feel more empowered. You'll stop doubting your worth. You'll begin to take ownership of your life in a way that you never have before. It won't always be easy, and there will be moments of discomfort. But each step you take in the direction of living for yourself will bring you closer to a life that is truly your own. Chapter 2. Breaking free from the need for approval. For many people, the need for approval is something they carry with them throughout life. Whether it's the desire to please parents, friends, co-workers, or even strangers, the need for validation can often feel like an invisible weight that never quite lets go. The problem with constantly seeking approval from others is that it leads to a cycle of dependency. The more you seek approval, the less you trust yourself and the less you rely on your own decisions. Instead, you wait for someone else to tell you that what you're doing is right. You become someone else's idea of what you should be, instead of being true to yourself. Living for yourself requires breaking free from this cycle. It's about learning that your worth is not determined by the opinions or judgments of others. When you make decisions based on your own values, preferences, and instincts, you take back control of your life. The first step is realizing that the need for approval, while natural, can also be limiting. It keeps you stuck in patterns that don't serve you and causes unnecessary stress. We all want to be liked and accepted, But when your sense of self is based on the approval of others, it's easy to lose sight of who you really are. You start changing your behavior or compromising your beliefs just to fit in. Over time, this leads to confusion. You begin to question whether you're making choices for yourself or because you're trying to meet someone else's standard. The truth is, the more you live for others, the more disconnected you become from your own desires. Imagine living in a world where you don't constantly worry about what others think. A world where you feel free to make your own choices without seeking approval from anyone. It's possible, but it requires a shift in mindset. The first thing to understand is that you're never going to be able to please everyone. No matter how hard you try, there will always be someone who disagrees with your choices, whether it's in your career, relationships, or lifestyle. The goal isn't to win everyone over. It's to focus on what's right for you, and to trust that those who matter will respect your decisions. One of the challenges in breaking free from the need for approval is fear. Fear of rejection, fear of criticism, and fear of being judged. These fears can keep you in a constant state of hesitation. You may find yourself second-guessing your decisions or avoiding things you truly want to do because you're afraid of what others will think. This fear can be paralyzing, but it doesn't have to be. Recognizing that this fear comes from the desire to feel accepted and loved is the first step toward breaking free from it. The key is to start small. Begin by making decisions that are true to you, even if they're not popular. You don't have to make dramatic changes overnight, but with each small decision, you build confidence in your ability to trust yourself. Each time you choose something based on your own beliefs and desires, you take another step away from the need for approval. This doesn't mean you ignore the opinions of others entirely, but it means you learn to filter out what doesn't align with your values. As you start trusting yourself more, you'll notice that the approval of others becomes less important. You'll begin to make choices without worrying about what others think. This shift can be incredibly freeing. It's like taking a deep breath after holding it for too long. The weight that comes from seeking validation starts to lift, and you feel lighter, more confident, and more in control of your life. In the beginning, the fear of rejection may still be there, but over time you realize that not everyone's approval is necessary for your happiness. You stop basing your worth on how others see you, and instead, you focus on your own self-worth. This doesn't mean you become indifferent to others. It just means you stop giving so much power to their opinions. One of the most powerful things you can do for yourself is to surround yourself with people who support and respect your choices. These are the people who encourage you to be authentic, who see the value in your decisions, and who don't try to impose their own expectations on you. Having a support system like this makes it easier to trust yourself because you know that the people who matter most in your life accept you for who you are. However, you also have to learn to be okay with people who don't understand your decisions. Not everyone will get why you've chosen to live for yourself, and that's okay. Their opinions don't define you. When you stop seeking validation from everyone around you, you start to realize that their approval isn't what determines your success or happiness. It's your own sense of fulfillment that matters most. As you break free from the need for approval, you also learn to trust your own judgment. It's easy to rely on others for advice, but when you consistently look to others for guidance, you weaken your own decision-making abilities. You begin to question whether you're making the right choices, even when your instincts tell you otherwise. By trusting yourself, you develop the confidence to make decisions based on your own knowledge and experience. The more you trust yourself, the stronger your inner voice becomes, and the less you rely on others to tell you what to do. Over time, you'll notice a shift in how you approach decisions. Instead of looking outside yourself for answers, you start looking within. You'll find that the answers were always there, waiting for you to acknowledge them. This is empowering. It's not about ignoring the input of others, but rather using their opinions as just one piece of the puzzle, not the entire picture. There may still be times when you seek reassurance or advice from others, and that's okay. But it's important to remember that at the end of the day, The decision is yours to make. You are the one who has to live with the consequences of your choices, so it's only fair that you trust yourself enough to make those choices with confidence. The key to living for yourself is knowing that you are enough, just as you are. You don't need anyone's approval to be worthy of love, respect, or success. By freeing yourself from the need for constant validation, you can begin to live a life that is true to who you are. You start making decisions that feel right to you, not because you want to fit in, but because you are finally allowing yourself to live authentically. The moment you realize this, you take back your power. The opinions of others become just that, opinions, not rules to live by. The more you practice living for yourself and trusting your own judgment, the easier it becomes. You start living in alignment with your values, your desires, and your vision for your life. The need for approval loses its grip on you, and you become more confident in the choices you make. You understand that you don't need anyone's permission to pursue what you want. It's a liberating feeling, and it's the first step in reclaiming control over your own life. Over time, you'll find that living for yourself doesn't just bring freedom, it brings peace. You no longer feel the need to explain yourself or justify your choices to anyone. You stop worrying about how others perceive you and start focusing on how you perceive yourself. In this process, you'll discover that the only approval you need is your own. Chapter 3. Reclaiming your personal power. Reclaiming your personal power is one of the most transformative steps you can take in your life. It's about recognizing that you are in control of your own fate, and no one else holds the key to your happiness or success. For so long, many people live their lives as if they're waiting for something external approval, permission, or some form of validation to take the next step. But the truth is, your power lies within you. You don't need to wait for anyone else to tell you that you're worthy or capable. You already are. The first step to reclaiming your personal power is acknowledging that it's yours to claim. You were born with the ability to make choices, to shape your path, and to take control of your life. But at some point, many of us lose sight of that power. We let fears, doubts, and the influence of others guide us instead of trusting ourselves. Reclaiming your personal power starts with realizing that your decisions, your actions, and your mindset are what ultimately shape your life. It's not about waiting for permission from anyone or anything. It's about taking responsibility for where you are and where you want to go. So often, we give away our personal power without even realizing it. We let the opinions of others dictate our decisions, or we allow ourselves to be trapped by the expectations others place on us. This can happen in our careers, our relationships, or even in the way we see ourselves. When we live to meet someone else's standards, we surrender control over our own lives. The moment you decide to stop living for others, you start taking back that power. It's a gradual process, but with each step, you begin to feel more in control of your destiny. Part of this process is letting go of the belief that you need to be in control of everything. Life is unpredictable, and it's impossible to control every outcome. But you can control how you react to those situations. You can choose to see setbacks as opportunities for growth. You can choose to learn from mistakes rather than letting them define you. Reclaiming your power doesn't mean you'll never face challenges. It means you'll face them with strength, resilience, and the confidence that you have the ability to overcome them. To take back your power, you also need to stop letting fear rule your life. Fear often holds us back from making the decisions that will bring us the most fulfillment. Whether it's fear of failure, fear of rejection, or fear of the unknown, it's important to recognize that fear doesn't have to control your choices. Fear is a natural part of life, but it doesn't have to dictate how you live. When you stop allowing fear to make your decisions for you, you take back control. One way to reclaim your power is by learning to trust your instincts. Deep down, you already know what's best for you. It's easy to get caught up in other people's opinions or to second-guess yourself. But when you listen to your inner voice, you'll find that it's often more reliable than you think. Trusting your instincts doesn't mean you'll always make the right choice, but it does mean you're taking full responsibility for your life. It's about listening to what feels right for you, even when it doesn't make sense to others. Reclaiming your power also means recognizing your worth. For too long, many of us have been conditioned to believe that our value is dependent on what we can do for others or how well we fit into society's expectations. But the truth is, your worth is inherent. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. When you understand your worth, you stop seeking external validation. You realize that you are worthy of love, success, and happiness just because you exist. One of the most important aspects of reclaiming your power is taking responsibility for your own life. You are the one who gets to decide how you live, what you do, and who you become. No one else can make those decisions for you. This doesn't mean that you won't face challenges or that everything will always go according to plan, but it does mean that you get to choose how you respond to those challenges. By taking full responsibility for your life, you acknowledge that you have the power to create the future you want. It's also essential to recognize that reclaiming your power isn't about being perfect. It's not about always having the right answers or making the right decisions. It's about owning your mistakes, learning from them, and moving forward with the knowledge that you are still in control of your journey. When you take responsibility for your actions, both good and bad, you regain your power. You stop letting external circumstances or the opinions of others define your success. Instead, you define it for yourself. Reclaiming your power is a continuous process. It's not something that happens overnight. There will be days when you doubt yourself, when you're tempted to fall back into old habits or seek approval from others. But each day is an opportunity to take back a little more of that power. It's about making small, consistent choices that align with who you are and what you want. The more you practice reclaiming your power, the easier it becomes to trust yourself and take control of your life. One of the most empowering things you can do is set boundaries. Boundaries are a way of protecting your time, energy, and emotions. When you set healthy boundaries, you stop letting others dictate how you spend your time or how much you give. Setting boundaries is a way of saying, I value myself and my needs, and it's a crucial part of reclaiming your personal power. It's not always easy, especially if you're used to putting others first, but it's necessary for your well-being. When you set boundaries, you take back control over how you interact with others and how much you allow them to influence your life. Another important aspect of reclaiming your power is practicing self-compassion. So often, we are our own harshest critics. We beat ourselves up for mistakes or flaws, forgetting that we're all human. Reclaiming your personal power means being kind to yourself, even when things don't go as planned. It means treating yourself with the same respect and understanding that you would show a friend. When you practice self-compassion, you stop allowing shame or guilt to control your life. You learn to forgive yourself and move forward with confidence. You also have the power to change your mindset. Your thoughts have a huge impact on your life. If you constantly tell yourself that you're not good enough or that you can't achieve your goals, you're limiting yourself. Reclaiming your power means changing your inner dialogue to reflect your true potential. It means challenging negative thoughts and replacing them with empowering ones. When you change your mindset, you change your entire outlook on life. You begin to see obstacles as opportunities, challenges as lessons, and setbacks as stepping stones toward your goals. It's also important to surround yourself with people who support and encourage your growth. Your environment plays a significant role in how you perceive your own power. When you're around people who lift you up, who believe in your potential, it's easier to believe in yourself. Reclaiming your power means seeking out relationships that inspire and empower you, and distancing yourself from those who drain your energy or diminish your confidence. Reclaiming your personal power is ultimately about stepping into your true self. It's about recognizing that you have everything you need within you to create the life you want. The journey won't always be easy, and there will be moments of doubt and fear. But when you remember that you are in control, you'll find the strength to keep moving forward. The more you reclaim your power, the more you'll realize that you have the ability to shape your own future and that no one else can take that away from you. Chapter 4. Letting go of dependency. Many of us spend much of our lives relying on others, whether it's for emotional support, financial security, or simply companionship. It can feel like we need others to complete us or guide us. However, learning to live without depending on others is not about isolating yourself or rejecting help when it's needed. It's about finding the strength within yourself to stand on your own 2 feet, to make decisions based on your own beliefs and desires, and to not rely on anyone else to dictate your happiness or success. We often forget just how much power we have within ourselves. When we depend on others for validation, approval, or even happiness, we give away a part of our personal strength. We look to others to make us feel good about ourselves, to tell us we're doing the right thing, or to make us feel secure in our choices. But when you rely on someone else to fill those needs, you put your well-being in their hands. You give away control. The truth is, we don't need anyone else to feel whole. Our happiness doesn't depend on anyone else but ourselves. Letting go of dependency means trusting yourself more than anyone else. It means understanding that you have the tools you need to create the life you want without waiting for someone else to show you the way. It also means letting go of the belief that you need someone's permission to succeed or be happy. So much of the time, we hold ourselves back because we feel like we need someone's approval to move forward. We wait for the right moment, the right person, or the right situation. But in reality, the right moment is now. The right person is you. Dependency doesn't just refer to needing others for emotional support or validation. It can also extend to our financial situations, our career choices, and even our lifestyle. If you're constantly looking for someone else to provide for you or to make decisions for you, you limit your own growth. You block yourself from realizing just how capable you really are. Financial independence, for example, isn't just about money. It's about feeling secure in your ability to take care of yourself. It's about knowing that you don't need anyone else to make sure your needs are met. Letting go of dependency also means learning to be comfortable with being alone. Society often makes us feel like we need to be in constant company to be happy or to be worthy. But the reality is, it's in our moments of solitude that we often grow the most. Being alone doesn't mean being lonely. It's an opportunity to reflect, to focus on your own needs, and to recharge. It's in these moments of solitude that we discover who we truly are and what we truly want. The more comfortable you become with being by yourself, the less you feel the need to rely on others for your happiness. One of the reasons people stay dependent on others is because of fear. Fear of being alone, fear of making decisions without guidance, and fear of being judged. This fear can hold you back from making the changes that will lead you to a more fulfilling life. It's important to acknowledge that fear is a natural part of life, but it doesn't have to control your decisions. The more you face your fears and challenge yourself to live without relying on others, the more you'll discover that you're stronger than you think. It's also about taking responsibility for your own life. When you stop depending on others to make decisions for you, you begin to take full ownership of your actions. It's easy to blame others or external circumstances for where you are in life, but true growth comes when you take responsibility for your choices. The decisions you make today are shaping your future, and when you start making decisions based on your own values and desires, you start living with intention. Another critical part of living without dependency is letting go of the need to please others. This is a tough one for many people because, at some point, most of us have tried to shape ourselves into what we think others expect us to be. Whether it's a parent, a boss, a partner, or even friends, we often try to fit into someone else's mold. But constantly trying to meet someone else's expectations leads to frustration, resentment, and a loss of self-identity. It can also leave you feeling drained because you're constantly giving to others while neglecting your own needs. When you live for yourself, you stop worrying about pleasing others and start focusing on what makes you feel fulfilled. Living without dependency doesn't mean rejecting all support from others. It means choosing to be in relationships that are healthy, balanced, and supportive, rather than ones that are based on need or obligation. It means knowing that while you can lean on others, you don't need them to survive or thrive. You can offer love, support, and care to others without needing anything in return. True independence comes when you realize that you are enough on your own. You don't need to rely on anyone to make you feel complete. One of the most empowering steps in breaking free from dependency is recognizing that you are responsible for your own happiness. It's easy to place the blame for our unhappiness on other people or external situations. But the truth is, happiness is a choice. It's about learning to create joy within yourself, rather than looking outside of yourself for it. When you start taking responsibility for your happiness, you stop depending on others to make you feel good about yourself. You realize that you are the one who controls your emotions and your well-being. Building your own sense of security is another crucial part of breaking free from dependency. This doesn't just mean financial security, though that can certainly be an important part of the process. It also means emotional security. It's about learning to manage your emotions and not relying on others to do it for you. It's about understanding that no matter what happens in your external world, you are capable of handling it on your own. This sense of inner security gives you the freedom to live life on your terms. As you begin to let go of dependency, you may notice that the relationships you have with others begin to shift. You may become more selective about the people you surround yourself with. You begin to attract people who respect your independence and who support your growth. Relationships based on mutual respect and genuine connection are far more fulfilling than those based on neediness or obligation. When you are no longer dependent on others for validation or support, you begin to attract healthier, more balanced relationships. This process is not easy, and it certainly doesn't happen overnight. Letting go of dependency takes time and requires a shift in mindset, but it's a necessary step toward personal freedom and growth. It's about recognizing that you have everything you need within yourself to create the life you want. When you learn to stand on your own 2 feet, you'll feel more confident, more empowered, and more capable of handling whatever life throws your way. Learning to live without anyone doesn't mean that you should isolate yourself from others or never ask for help. It's about understanding that your worth and your happiness come from within. You can rely on others for support and companionship, but you don't need them to validate your existence or to make your life meaningful. By letting go of dependency, you take back your power. You learn that you are strong, capable, and enough, just as you are. Chapter 5. The Power of Solitude. There's a common misconception that solitude is the same as loneliness. People often shy away from being alone because they equate it with sadness, emptiness, or the fear of being disconnected from others. But in reality, solitude is one of the most powerful tools for personal growth. It's in moments of solitude that we truly learn about ourselves. It's when we're alone that we have the chance to reflect, to recharge, and to listen to our inner voice without distractions. Embracing solitude is a key step in learning to live for yourself, and understanding its power can change the way you see your own life. Solitude is not about isolation, it's about being comfortable with your own company. It's the time you spend with yourself, not for the sake of avoiding others, but for the purpose of reconnecting with your true self. It's a space where you can relax your mind and reflect on who you are, what you want, and how you want to move forward. Too often, we get caught up in the noise and the expectations of the outside world. We look to others for validation, for answers, or for companionship, without realizing that all the answers we seek are already within us. Solitude gives us the space to rediscover our personal strength and wisdom. When you begin to embrace solitude, you'll notice something remarkable. It's not the absence of people that makes you feel isolated, but the absence of clarity and self-understanding. In the busyness of daily life, it's easy to get lost in the hustle, to follow the opinions of others, or to drown out your inner thoughts with distractions. Being alone allows you to filter out all that external noise and tune into your true feelings and desires. In those quiet moments, you find your center, your clarity, and your purpose. The fear of being alone is often rooted in insecurity. People worry that if they're alone, it means something is wrong with them, or that they'll be missing out on something. But in truth, solitude doesn't diminish your worth, it enhances it. It's in these quiet moments that you can step away from the pressure to conform or the need for approval. You can be yourself, without pretense, without judgment, and without the need to explain yourself to anyone. Solitude is a safe space where you can embrace your authentic self. The power of solitude is that it allows you to reset and recharge. It's easy to feel drained when you're constantly interacting with others, meeting their needs, and living according to their schedules. But when you carve out time for yourself, you give your mind and body a chance to rest. Solitude allows you to replenish your energy, to process your thoughts, and to reconnect with your goals and desires. It's like pressing the reset button on your life, allowing you to move forward with renewed strength and purpose. Another benefit of embracing solitude is that it cultivates self-awareness. When you're constantly surrounded by people, it's easy to lose touch with your own needs, desires, and emotions. You may find yourself making decisions based on what others expect of you, rather than what you truly want. But in solitude, you are given the chance to check in with yourself. You can ask yourself the tough questions. What do I really want out of life? What makes me happy? What are my values? These are the questions that allow you to align your actions with your true self. Being alone doesn't mean that you need to isolate yourself from others or cut yourself off from the world. In fact, embracing solitude can improve your relationships with others. When you take the time to be with yourself and understand who you are better equipped to connect with others in a meaningful way. You can enter relationships not from a place of need or dependence, but from a place of wholeness. You have more to give because you've taken the time to nurture yourself. Solitude is also the ideal space for creativity. When we're constantly distracted or engaged with other people, it can be hard to hear our own thoughts and ideas. But in solitude, our creativity has room to flourish. Whether it's through journaling, painting, writing, or simply reflecting on your goals, being alone allows you to tap into your creative potential. It gives you the mental space to explore new ideas, solve problems, and think outside the box. The world's most successful innovators and creatives have often relied on solitude to fuel their ideas and their work. One of the most powerful aspects of solitude is that it teaches you to become your own best friend. When you're constantly seeking validation from others, it's easy to overlook your own worth. But solitude helps you recognize that you don't need anyone else's approval to feel good about yourself. You can learn to enjoy your own company and appreciate your own uniqueness. Solitude helps you develop a deeper sense of self-love and self-compassion, two key ingredients for living a fulfilling life. It's important to note that solitude doesn't mean avoiding relationships or avoiding the world around you. Instead, it's about creating balance. It's about recognizing that you need time for yourself in order to be fully present with others. When you take time to nurture your own needs, you have more energy, patience, and understanding to offer the people around you. Solitude allows you to become more centered, more grounded, and more compassionate, which ultimately improves your relationships. When you're comfortable with solitude, you become less reliant on others for your happiness. You stop seeking out distractions or external validation because you've learned that your happiness comes from within. You learn to appreciate the moments of stillness and quiet, recognizing that they are where your true power lies. By embracing solitude, you take control of your life, your happiness, and your success. It's the ultimate form of self-care, and it allows you to step into your fullest potential. In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to forget the importance of solitude. We're constantly surrounded by noise, whether it's the constant ping of our phones, the demands of work, or the expectations of others. But solitude offers us something that nothing else can: peace. It gives us the space to reflect, to breathe, and to connect with ourselves in a way that the chaos of daily life often doesn't allow. When we embrace solitude, we reclaim our power and our sense of purpose. Solitude is not about being alone forever. It's about learning to be at peace with yourself so that you can approach life with a sense of clarity, strength, and self-assurance. When you take the time to connect with yourself, you become better equipped to navigate the complexities of life. You gain the wisdom, insight, and confidence needed to face challenges head-on. And when you emerge from those moments of solitude, you do so with a deeper sense of who you are and what you want out of life. Embrace solitude, and you'll find that it's one of the most rewarding, life-changing experiences you can have. Chapter 6. Identifying and overcoming fear of being alone. There's something unsettling about the idea of being alone. It makes people anxious, and for some, it triggers feelings of fear that they might be left out, unnoticed, or unloved. These feelings are perfectly natural because, as humans, we have a deep need for connection. But when that fear becomes overwhelming, it can hold us back from living life fully. The fear of being alone isn't about the absence of people around us. It's about the uncomfortable silence inside our own minds. The more we avoid that silence, the more we miss out on the growth that can happen when we're by ourselves. When we think of the fear of being alone, we often associate it with loneliness, but loneliness is different. Loneliness comes from a lack of connection with others, whereas the fear of being alone stems from the discomfort of facing ourselves. It's easy to stay busy, to surround ourselves with distractions, whether they're people, work, or even entertainment, because it keeps us from having to deal with the emptiness or discomfort that can come from being alone. But the more we avoid it, the more power that fear has over us. When you learn to embrace being alone, you begin to realize that the fear isn't something to run from, it's something to face. It's not about never feeling lonely or never experiencing moments of discomfort. It's about recognizing that you don't need to be surrounded by others to feel complete. It's about understanding that your value is not dependent on external connections. Your happiness, your peace of mind, your sense of purpose, and your self-worth come from within. Learning to be alone isn't an overnight process. It takes time to understand that the fear you feel isn't real. It's a mental construct, one that is often fueled by past experiences or societal conditioning. We're told from an early age that we should always be with people, that we need others to feel loved or validated, but this couldn't be further from the truth. The more we rely on others to define our worth, the more vulnerable we are to feeling lost when those connections aren't present. The key is to shift your mindset to realize that being alone doesn't make you weak, unworthy, or incomplete. It makes you strong, independent, and capable. Once you can change your perspective on being alone, the fear starts to fade away. Instead of running from it, you learn to sit with it. You recognize that the discomfort you feel is just a signal that you're growing. Being alone isn't about being in a state of lack. It's about embracing the opportunity to focus on yourself. In fact, some of the greatest breakthroughs in life come from the times when we're alone. It's when we are alone that we can be introspective, reflecting on our goals, our desires, and our path forward. It's during these moments of solitude that we can truly listen to what we need and understand what's important to us. The fear of being alone often arises from the belief that if we are alone, we are somehow unimportant. This couldn't be further from the truth. The fact that you exist, that you have a unique set of experiences, perspectives, and qualities means that you are inherently valuable. Your worth doesn't come from others, it comes from who you are at your core. Understanding this is the first step in freeing yourself from the fear of being alone. Another common fear associated with being alone is the fear of being unproductive or wasting time. Many people believe that if they're not busy, not engaged with others, they're not accomplishing anything. But this kind of thinking can prevent you from recognizing the value of rest and self-reflection. Sometimes doing nothing is the most productive thing you can do. It's when we stop moving, stop running after the next thing, that we have the chance to connect with our true selves. It's in the quiet moments that we can recharge, reset, and recalibrate. When you learn to be comfortable with being alone, you begin to discover how much more you are capable of. You no longer feel the need to rely on others to provide you with direction, support, or validation. Instead, you trust yourself. You find that you are more resourceful, more confident, and more self-sufficient than you ever realized. You don't need to be constantly surrounded by people to feel valued. You can stand on your own with confidence and clarity, knowing that you have the strength to navigate life independently. There's also a certain power that comes from being alone in your own thoughts. Without distractions or the influence of others, you have the chance to listen to your inner voice. Often we are so caught up in what everyone else thinks, says, or expects of us, that we forget to check in with our own desires. Being alone allows you to reconnect with your values, goals, and passions. It's the space where you can truly get to know yourself, unfiltered by outside opinions or societal pressures. Learning to be okay with being alone also means learning to accept the uncomfortable feelings that might arise. It's easy to ignore them, to push them away, or to numb them with distractions. But true growth comes from facing those feelings head-on. When you sit with your discomfort, when you allow yourself to feel what you're feeling, you begin to understand yourself better. You begin to unravel the layers of insecurity, fear, and self-doubt that hold you back. And as you move through those emotions, you come out stronger and more self-aware. It's also important to remember that being alone doesn't mean shutting out the world completely. It's about finding balance. It's about knowing that you don't need to be constantly around people to feel fulfilled, but also acknowledging that human connection is important. The goal isn't to reject relationships, but to ensure that you are not dependent on them for your happiness or sense of self-worth. When you learn to enjoy your own company, you bring a healthier version of yourself to your relationships because you are no longer looking to others to complete you. The fear of being alone often stems from the idea that we need constant external validation to feel good about ourselves. We're taught to seek approval, to fit in, and to please others. But when you learn to be comfortable in your own presence, you free yourself from the need for external validation. You become secure in who you are. You don't need anyone else to tell you that you matter, because you already know it. Being alone is also an opportunity for growth. It's the time when you can look inward, reflect on where you are in life, and figure out where you want to go next. You can't grow if you're constantly surrounded by noise and distractions. The quiet moments are where real growth happens. They give you the space to reassess your priorities, set new goals, and discover new aspects of yourself. The fear of being alone is often a fear of change, but in truth, it's change that allows us to grow. As you begin to embrace being alone, you'll find that the fear lessens and the benefits become clearer. You'll start to see that being alone doesn't equate to being abandoned or unimportant. Instead, it's an opportunity to reconnect with yourself, to focus on your growth, and to rediscover what truly matters to you. Being comfortable with your own company gives you the strength to face life with confidence, to trust yourself, and to make decisions based on your own values, not the expectations of others. And ultimately, it's through this process that you learn to live for yourself. Chapter 7. Creating your own happiness. We spend so much of our lives looking for happiness outside of ourselves. We seek it in the approval of others, in relationships, in achievements, in possessions. We are often convinced that happiness is something we can find through external sources, but the truth is, it's not something that can be found outside of us at all. True happiness comes from within. It's about being content with who you are and where you are in life, regardless of external circumstances. The first step in creating your own happiness is understanding that it's not something that can be earned or given to you. Happiness doesn't come as a reward for completing a checklist of tasks, nor does it appear when someone else validates your worth. It's a mindset, a way of approaching life. You can choose to be happy, regardless of the situations you find yourself in. This doesn't mean that life will always be perfect or that you won't face challenges. But it does mean that you have the power to decide how you respond to those challenges. Often, we wait for something or someone to make us happy. We tell ourselves that once we get that promotion, find the right partner, or move to the perfect home, we will finally feel fulfilled. But what happens when we reach those goals? The happiness we thought we'd find often fades away, leaving us searching for the next thing. This cycle continues because we haven't yet realized that happiness isn't dependent on those external things. It's about how we choose to experience life every single day. To truly create your own happiness, you must let go of the belief that it's something you need to chase. It's not something you can attain by pursuing external goals or seeking validation. Instead, it's about looking inward and deciding that you are enough, just as you are. You are already worthy of happiness, and it's within your reach whenever you choose to embrace it. One of the key factors in creating your own happiness is learning to appreciate the present moment. We are often so focused on what we don't have or what's next in life that we overlook the joy that's available right now. Happiness isn't a distant destination that you'll reach someday. It's something that exists in the everyday moments of life. Whether it's enjoying a warm cup of coffee in the morning, having a conversation with a friend, or taking a walk in nature, these are the moments where happiness resides. When you focus on the present and stop constantly worrying about the future or dwelling on the past, you open yourself up to experiencing joy in its most natural form. Happiness doesn't need to be complicated. It's in the small, simple moments that we often find the most fulfillment. By practicing mindfulness and being fully present, you begin to realize that happiness is already within you, waiting to be acknowledged. Another important step in creating your own happiness is learning to let go of comparisons. We live in a world where we are constantly measuring ourselves against others. We see someone else's success, their happiness, their perfect life, and think that we're somehow falling short. But the truth is, everyone's journey is unique. What makes someone else happy may not be the same thing that brings you joy. When you stop comparing yourself to others and focus on your own path, you free yourself from the pressure to meet unrealistic expectations. You allow yourself to experience happiness on your own terms. A big part of creating your own happiness is also about letting go of resentment and grudges. Holding on to negative emotions only weighs you down and takes away your peace of mind. Forgiveness is not about excusing the actions of others, it's about freeing yourself from the burden of carrying that anger and pain. When you choose to let go of past hurts and move forward with a sense of peace, you make room for happiness to enter your life. Sometimes we also think that happiness comes from having everything figured out. We feel like we need to have all our goals lined up, a perfect plan, and the certainty that we're on the right track. But the reality is, life is unpredictable. There will always be unknowns, and the path will often be unclear. The key to happiness isn't in having all the answers. It's in being okay with not knowing exactly what the future holds. It's about trusting the process and knowing that you are capable of handling whatever comes your way. When you let go of the need for certainty, you free yourself from the stress of trying to control every aspect of your life. Another crucial part of creating your own happiness is focusing on what you can control, rather than what you can't. It's easy to get caught up in frustrations over things that are outside of our control. The weather, other people's behavior, world events, these things can create feelings of helplessness and dissatisfaction. But when you focus on what you can control, your thoughts, your actions, your attitude, you reclaim your power. You realize that no matter what's happening around you, you have the ability to shape your own experience. By choosing to focus on the positive, on the things that bring you joy, you can create a life that feels happy and fulfilling, no matter the circumstances. Creating your own happiness also means learning to take care of yourself, both physically and emotionally. When you're feeling good in your body, when you're rested, nourished and cared for, it's easier to feel happy. Happiness isn't just a mental state, it's a holistic experience that involves taking care of your entire being. This means getting enough sleep, eating nourishing foods, exercising regularly, and making time for activities that bring you joy. When you make self-care a priority, you set yourself up for a more balanced, happier life. Sometimes the act of creating your own happiness involves making changes in your life that might feel uncomfortable at first. If you're in a toxic relationship, in a job you hate, or stuck in a routine that drains you, it's time to make a change. Creating your own happiness means having the courage to step out of situations that don't serve you. It's about recognizing that your happiness is worth the effort it takes to create it. You may have to face your fears, take risks, and step into the unknown, but the rewards of living a life that feels authentic to you are worth it. As you learn to create your own happiness, you'll find that it becomes easier over time. You'll begin to notice the small things that bring you joy, and you'll start to appreciate them more fully. You'll feel less reliant on external validation and more connected to your own sense of worth. Happiness will no longer feel like something you're chasing or trying to earn. It will feel like something that is already present within you, ready to be embraced. In the end, happiness is a choice. It's a way of approaching life with a sense of gratitude, self-compassion, and openness. It's about accepting that life isn't perfect, but that you have the power to find joy in the moments you're given. When you make the choice to create your own happiness, you take control of your life and step into a space where you can thrive no matter what comes your way. Chapter 8. The Role of Self-Respect in Living Alone. When you truly understand the role of self-respect, it becomes the foundation of everything else in your life. It shapes the way you carry yourself, the way you interact with others, and the way you make decisions. Self-respect is the internal recognition of your own worth and value, and when you possess it, it serves as a guide for how you allow others to treat you, and more importantly, how you treat yourself. It's easy to get caught up in the opinions of others, but if you don't respect yourself, how can you expect anyone else to do so? It all starts with acknowledging that you are enough as you are. It's common to get lost in the pursuit of validation from outside sources, whether that's approval from family, friends, or colleagues. But the truth is, validation from others is fleeting and unreliable. When you rely on external validation, your sense of worth becomes fragile, subject to the whims of others. When you rely on your own respect for yourself, it's unshakable. It's rooted in who you are, not who others think you should be. Self-respect means accepting all parts of yourself, the good, the bad, and everything in between. It doesn't mean that you're perfect or that you don't have flaws, but rather, it's about embracing the fact that you are human. You acknowledge your mistakes and learn from them, but you don't let them define you. You recognize your value, regardless of your imperfections. When you respect yourself, you stop beating yourself up for things that are out of your control, and you stop measuring your worth based on other people's expectations. You learn to stand tall in your own truth, without apology. It's also important to set boundaries with others. Boundaries are not about building walls. They're about ensuring that your needs, feelings, and desires are respected. When you have self-respect, you have no problem saying no when something doesn't align with your values or goals. You don't have to please everyone, and you don't need to say yes to things that drain your energy or take you off course. Boundaries are a healthy and necessary part of self-care. They allow you to protect your emotional and mental space, and they ensure that you're not giving away more than you can afford to. If you constantly say yes to others, you're not respecting your own time or your own needs. It's easy to get caught in the trap of people-pleasing, especially when you're trying to gain approval or avoid conflict. But when you let others dictate your boundaries, you lose sight of what truly matters to you. The more you allow this to happen, the more you give away your sense of self-respect. True self-respect requires that you trust your own instincts. It's about listening to your gut, following your heart, and making choices that align with your personal values. You don't have to explain yourself to anyone for doing what feels right for you. Respecting yourself means you trust your own judgment, even when others might not understand. You know your own worth, and you make decisions based on that understanding. One of the hardest aspects of self-respect is letting go of relationships that don't serve you. It's easy to stay in situations that are comfortable, even when they're not healthy. Whether it's a toxic friendship, an unfulfilling relationship, or a job that drains you, staying in those situations is a form of self-neglect. You may feel a sense of loyalty or obligation, but if those relationships or situations are causing you harm, it's time to walk away. Letting go of what doesn't serve you is an act of self-respect. It's about recognizing that your peace, your happiness, and your mental health are more important than staying in something out of comfort or fear. This also applies to the way you treat yourself. If you're constantly beating yourself up over your mistakes, or if you're indulging in habits that are harmful to your health, you're not respecting yourself. Self-respect means taking care of your body, mind, and spirit. It means giving yourself the space to rest when needed, feeding yourself with nourishing foods, and cultivating a positive mindset. Self-respect means not tolerating self-sabotage. It means challenging yourself to be better, but doing so with kindness and compassion. Sometimes, respecting yourself also means doing the hard work of confronting your own limiting beliefs. These are the stories you tell yourself about what you can or cannot do, about what you deserve or don't deserve. They might have come from past experiences or things that others have told you, but they don't have to define you. Self-respect requires that you acknowledge these beliefs, challenge them, and reframe them. You deserve the same respect, love, and care that you give to others, and that starts with believing that you are worthy of it. Another essential aspect of self-respect is giving yourself permission to prioritize your own happiness. Too often, people put others' needs before their own, out of guilt or fear of being perceived as selfish. But the truth is, you cannot pour from an empty cup. If you don't take care of yourself, you won't be able to show up for others in a meaningful way. Self-respect means recognizing that your needs matter and that it's okay to take time for yourself without feeling guilty. It's about understanding that you deserve to have your own dreams, desires, and goals, and that it's okay to pursue them. Self-respect also involves being honest with yourself. It's easy to ignore the things that you know deep down are not right for you, but doing so only erodes your self-respect over time. If something feels off, it's important to listen to that feeling. When you ignore your inner voice, you send the message to yourself that your needs and feelings don't matter. Respecting yourself means being truthful with yourself, even when the truth is hard to face. It's about acknowledging your own feelings, desires, and shortcomings without judgment or shame. Another powerful way to cultivate self-respect is by forgiving yourself. We all make mistakes, but those mistakes don't define us. Holding on to guilt, shame, or regret only serves to undermine your sense of self-worth. When you forgive yourself, you release the weight of those negative emotions and free yourself to move forward. Self-respect means being able to accept your past, learn from it, and use it as a stepping stone to create a better future. It means giving yourself the grace to be human and understanding that perfection is an illusion. As you continue to build your self-respect, you'll find that it becomes easier to stand firm in your decisions. You will no longer feel the need to seek approval or validation from others. You will trust yourself more, and your inner confidence will grow. This self-assurance will radiate outward, affecting the way you interact with the world around you. People will notice the way you carry yourself, and they will respect you not because of what you do, but because of who you are. When you respect yourself, you set a standard for how others should treat you. You teach people how to treat you by how you treat yourself. If you consistently show up for yourself, set healthy boundaries, and make choices that align with your values, others will do the same. You create a life that reflects your inner worth, and you attract people and opportunities that align with that sense of value. At the end of the day, Self-respect is about taking ownership of your life. It's about honoring your feelings, your needs, and your boundaries. It's about making decisions that are in alignment with your authentic self, not based on what others expect of you. When you truly respect yourself, everything else falls into place. You stop seeking external validation, you let go of toxic relationships, and you start living life on your terms. Self-respect is the key to living a life that is true to who you are and worthy of everything you desire. Chapter 9. Building confidence from the inside out. Building confidence from the inside out is a journey, not a destination. It's about finding peace with who you are and embracing your uniqueness. Confidence isn't about being perfect or never feeling doubt. It's about accepting yourself fully, flaws and all, and moving forward anyway. It starts with understanding that you are enough as you are, and that your value doesn't depend on external achievements or the opinions of others. True confidence isn't built on what others see in you, but on what you see in yourself. One of the most crucial steps in building internal confidence is recognizing and addressing the negative self-talk that often holds you back. Many people are quick to criticize themselves and focus on their weaknesses, but this only creates a cycle of self-doubt. When you continually tell yourself that you're not good enough, not worthy, or not capable, you start to believe it. Breaking this cycle begins with changing the way you speak to yourself. Instead of focusing on what's wrong, try focusing on what's right. Celebrate your strengths, acknowledge your progress, and be kind to yourself when things don't go as planned. The more you practice this, the more your confidence will grow. Building confidence also requires stepping outside your comfort zone. It's easy to stay in a safe place, doing things you're already good at, because it feels comfortable and predictable. But real growth happens when you take risks and challenge yourself. Confidence doesn't appear just by thinking about it. It's developed through action. When you push yourself to do something new, whether it's speaking in front of a crowd, taking on a new project, or starting something from scratch, you prove to yourself that you are capable. Every small win, every challenge you overcome, adds to your confidence. As you start taking on new challenges, it's important to remember that failure is part of the process. Failing doesn't mean you're not good enough or that you should give up. It means you tried and you learned something in the process. When you accept failure as a learning opportunity, it loses its power to shake your confidence. Instead of letting setbacks make you doubt yourself, use them as stepping stones to your next success. Building confidence means accepting that mistakes are part of life, and that they don't define you, they refine you. Another key aspect of internal confidence is self-awareness. The more you understand yourself, the things that motivate you, your strengths, your areas for improvement, the better equipped you'll be to navigate life's challenges. Self-awareness allows you to make decisions that are in line with your true values, rather than chasing external expectations or trying to please others. When you know who you are, you can confidently make choices that reflect your authentic self, and that alone strengthens your confidence. One of the biggest confidence boosters is self-care. Taking care of your body, mind, and spirit creates a foundation of well-being that naturally enhances your confidence. When you prioritize your health, whether it's through regular exercise, getting enough rest, eating nourishing foods, or taking time to relax, you're showing yourself that you matter. Confidence doesn't just come from how you look or what you do, it also comes from how you treat yourself. When you take care of yourself, you signal to the world that you deserve respect and care, and that radiates outward in every interaction. Confidence is also about setting and achieving personal goals. When you set realistic, achievable goals, you create a roadmap for success. Reaching those goals, no matter how small, proves to yourself that you are capable of making things happen. Every goal you reach builds your belief in your own abilities. But setting goals isn't just about the end result, it's also about the journey. The process of working towards something, of staying disciplined and focused, builds a sense of accomplishment that feeds into your confidence. It's also important to surround yourself with people who lift you up. While building internal confidence is about relying on yourself, it's equally important to have a supportive environment. The people you spend time with can have a significant impact on your confidence. Being around individuals who encourage you, believe in your abilities, and support your goals helps reinforce your own belief in yourself. Positive, supportive relationships provide a space where you can be your authentic self, and they give you the strength to continue pushing forward, especially when things get tough. On the flip side, it's crucial to distance yourself from negative influences. People who constantly criticize, belittle, or undermine you can erode your self-esteem. If you're around individuals who make you feel less than or who reinforce your insecurities, it becomes difficult to maintain confidence. Building internal confidence requires protecting your energy and setting boundaries with people who don't respect you. You don't need anyone's approval to be confident, but you do need to be around people who respect you for who you are and who encourage you to be your best self. Another powerful tool for building confidence is visualization. This is a technique where you imagine yourself succeeding in the things you want to achieve. Visualization helps to create a mental image of success, which in turn can influence your actions and behaviors in real life. When you visualize yourself confidently handling challenges, achieving your goals, or succeeding in a particular area, your brain starts to believe that it's possible. This belief in your own success can motivate you to take the necessary steps to make it a reality. Along with visualization comes the power of affirmations. These are positive statements you say to yourself, reinforcing the belief that you are capable, worthy, and strong. When you repeat affirmations, you start to shift your mindset from one of doubt to one of certainty. The more you affirm your strengths and capabilities, the more you believe in them. This, in turn, boosts your confidence as it creates a positive internal dialogue that supports your growth. Finally, building confidence means being patient with yourself. It's easy to get discouraged if things aren't happening as quickly as you'd like, but true confidence is built over time. It's about making small, consistent steps forward. The journey is just as important as the destination, and sometimes the most important thing is just showing up every day, doing your best, and trusting that progress will come. Don't rush the process or compare your growth to others. Confidence is an individual experience, and it's about becoming the best version of yourself at your own pace. The key to building confidence from the inside out is remembering that it's a practice, not a one-time achievement. Every day is an opportunity to nurture and grow your confidence. It's about showing up for yourself, challenging yourself, and acknowledging your worth. Confidence is not about being perfect, it's about accepting who you are and trusting in your ability to navigate life's ups and downs with grace and strength. The more you invest in yourself, the more your confidence will flourish, and soon enough, you'll realize that you have everything you need within you to live the life you desire. Chapter 10. Setting boundaries without guilt. Setting boundaries is an essential aspect of living for yourself. It's about defining what is acceptable and what isn't in your life, protecting your peace, and creating space for what truly matters. Without boundaries, we risk being overwhelmed, drained, and taken advantage of. The beauty of boundaries is that they allow us to say yes to things that align with our values and no to things that don't. The first step in setting boundaries is recognizing that they are a form of self-respect. Boundaries are not about rejecting people or isolating ourselves, but about valuing our own time, energy, and well-being. When we set boundaries, we're telling the world and ourselves that we deserve to be treated with respect. Boundaries are necessary for maintaining healthy relationships, whether with friends, family, or colleagues. Without them, we can quickly find ourselves overwhelmed by the demands and expectations of others. At the heart of boundary setting is understanding our limits. What can you tolerate, and what is unacceptable to you? These limits are personal and unique to each individual. For some, it may mean limiting the amount of time spent on work, while for others, it might mean setting clear emotional boundaries in relationships. Recognizing your limits is key to creating healthy boundaries. It's not about being selfish, it's about protecting your own well-being so that you can show up as your best self. Setting boundaries is often easier said than done. Many of us fear disappointing others or being perceived as selfish. This fear can make it hard to say no or to stand up for ourselves when we need to. But it's important to remember that saying no is not an act of rejection, it's an act of self-preservation. When we say no to things that drain us or don't serve our well-being, we are making space for the things that matter. Saying no is sometimes the most compassionate thing we can do, both for ourselves and for others. One of the biggest challenges in setting boundaries is dealing with the guilt that often comes with it. We live in a culture that encourages people to be constantly available, always helpful, and willing to say yes to everything. But saying yes to everything means saying no to ourselves. When we overcommit or allow ourselves to be stretched too thin, we end up feeling burned out, resentful, or overwhelmed. Learning to set boundaries means acknowledging that our needs are just as important as anyone else's. Boundaries are not just about saying no to others, they're about saying yes to yourself. When we set boundaries, we're making a commitment to our own well-being, happiness, and peace of mind. Boundaries protect our time, energy, and mental health. They allow us to prioritize the things that bring us joy and fulfillment without feeling guilty or overburdened. In fact, when we practice healthy boundaries, we often find that we have more energy to give to others because we've preserved our own energy in the process. It's important to remember that boundaries are not rigid walls. They are flexible and can change over time. Life circumstances change, and so do our needs. For example, if you're in a demanding job, you might need stricter boundaries around work hours. If you're going through a tough time emotionally, you might need more space to process your feelings and recharge. Boundaries should reflect where you are in life and what you need in that moment. It's about checking in with yourself and adjusting your boundaries as needed to protect your peace. Setting boundaries is also an act of self-awareness. It requires you to know what is important to you, what you value, and what your priorities are. It's easy to get caught up in the demands of others and lose sight of what truly matters to you. But when you set clear boundaries, you create space for the things that align with your values and goals. This clarity of purpose helps you stay focused and intentional in your life. It's about being proactive, instead of reactive, choosing how you want to spend your time and energy, rather than letting others dictate it for you. When you start setting boundaries, you may encounter resistance from others. People might not understand why you're saying no, or may push back against your boundaries. This can be uncomfortable, but it's important to stand firm. The key is to communicate your boundaries with kindness and respect, without feeling the need to apologize for them. Boundaries are about protecting yourself, and you don't need to justify your needs or explain yourself endlessly to others. Be clear, direct, and assertive, but also compassionate in your approach. It's also crucial to recognize that boundaries don't just apply to other people, they also apply to yourself. We often have a tendency to overcommit, overwork, or push ourselves too hard. Setting boundaries with yourself means acknowledging your limitations and giving yourself permission to rest, recharge, and take care of your mental and emotional health. This might look like saying no to extra tasks, taking breaks when you're feeling overwhelmed, or giving yourself time to relax without guilt. Self-boundaries are just as important as external boundaries because they help you maintain balance and avoid burnout. Another key aspect of setting boundaries is learning to manage your time effectively. When we don't have clear boundaries around how we spend our time, it's easy to get lost in distractions, work, or commitments that don't align with our goals. Setting boundaries around your time means being intentional about how you spend each day, prioritizing the things that matter most. It's about saying no to the things that don't serve you, and making space for what brings you fulfillment. As you start to set boundaries, you'll likely notice a shift in your life. You might feel more in control, less stressed, and more aligned with your goals. Boundaries create a sense of structure and order, and they allow you to take ownership of your time and energy. The more you practice setting healthy boundaries, the more empowered you'll feel. You'll stop feeling like you're at the mercy of other people's needs and expectations, and instead, you'll take charge of your own life. Setting boundaries is a powerful act of self-care. It's about honoring yourself, your needs, and your well-being. It's about protecting your time, your energy, and your peace of mind. Boundaries allow you to live authentically, without feeling overwhelmed or drained by the demands of others. When you set clear boundaries, you give yourself the space to thrive and to live for yourself. You create a life that aligns with your values, your goals, and your vision for the future. And in doing so, you create a sense of balance and harmony that will carry you through whatever challenges come your way. Chapter 11. Letting go of the fear of rejection. Rejection is something everyone encounters at some point in life. It can feel personal, hurtful, and sometimes even crushing. It might happen in a job application, in relationships, or even within friendships. But the truth is that rejection is not a reflection of your worth or abilities. It's not a judgment on who you are as a person. Instead, it's simply a part of life, a part of growth, learning, and finding the right fit for you. When we fear rejection, we tend to let it control our decisions, actions, and even our sense of self-worth. We may avoid taking risks, expressing ourselves authentically, or pursuing opportunities because we are afraid of being rejected. But the real question we need to ask ourselves is, what are we really afraid of? Are we afraid of the discomfort that comes with rejection, or are we afraid of the feelings it stirs up about ourselves? Rejection doesn't define us, but our response to it does. How we react to rejection can either empower us or hold us back. The fear of rejection often keeps us in a state of paralysis, where we second-guess ourselves or miss out on opportunities. In reality, rejection is a necessary part of the process of learning and evolving. Every rejection carries a lesson, an insight that helps us understand more about ourselves and what we truly want. It's easy to make rejection about our inadequacies or our shortcomings, but in most cases, rejection is not about who we are as individuals. It's simply a reflection of the circumstances, timing, or needs of the person or situation involved. For example, a job rejection might have nothing to do with your skills or experience, but rather with an applicant pool that's just more aligned with the company's current needs. Likewise, when a relationship or friendship doesn't work out, it doesn't mean you're not worthy of love. Or friendship, it just means that the fit wasn't right for both parties. What's important is that we don't internalize rejection as a personal attack. Instead, we need to separate ourselves from the rejection and look at it objectively. When we can do that, we stop viewing ourselves as failures and start seeing rejection as a stepping stone to something better. It's also crucial to understand that rejection doesn't mean that we are unworthy or undeserving. It simply means that, for whatever reason, this particular opportunity or connection wasn't the right one for us at this time. To stop fearing rejection, we must begin by accepting that it's a part of life. It's inevitable, and it doesn't have to be feared. Once we accept it, we free ourselves from its grip. Rejection no longer has to define our actions or limit our potential. We can learn to see it as an opportunity for growth, self-discovery, and resilience. One of the most empowering things we can do in response to rejection is to focus on self-validation. When we rely on others for validation, we put our happiness and sense of self-worth in their hands. This makes us vulnerable to the impact of rejection because our feelings of worthiness become tied to external approval. But when we learn to validate ourselves, when we recognize and appreciate our own worth, we become less dependent on external validation and less affected by rejection. Self-validation means recognizing your own strengths, qualities, and value, regardless of external circumstances. It means acknowledging your worth simply because you exist, not because someone else recognizes it or approves of it. When we validate ourselves, we become more resilient in the face of rejection. We stop needing the approval of others to feel good about ourselves, and we can continue to move forward, confident in our own worth. Another important aspect of overcoming the fear of rejection is reframing how we view rejection itself. Instead of seeing it as a failure or a setback, we can choose to view it as redirection. When something doesn't work out, it's often because there's something better or more aligned with our goals waiting for us. Rejection can act as a guide, showing us what doesn't fit, so that we can move closer to what truly suits us. It's like a process of elimination, where each no brings us closer to the yes that is meant for us. The key to reframing rejection is to stop taking it personally. It's not a reflection of your value, it's simply a part of the journey. When you embrace rejection as a tool for growth and a stepping stone to something better, you start to develop a mindset of resilience. You stop letting rejection define your journey and start using it as a way to fuel your determination to move forward. Overcoming the fear of rejection requires developing a growth mindset. This means embracing challenges, setbacks, and obstacles as opportunities to learn and grow. People with a growth mindset understand that rejection is not permanent or final. They view it as a temporary detour, not a dead end. They know that the road to success is not linear, and that every rejection or failure is an important part of the process. When you have a growth mindset, you can approach rejection with curiosity instead of fear. Instead of avoiding it or letting it defeat you, you ask yourself, what can I learn from this? You seek the lesson in every rejection, whether it's a job you didn't get, a relationship that ended, or an opportunity that slipped away. Each rejection offers a chance to learn, adapt, and improve. Over time, you develop the confidence that rejection is simply a part of the process of achieving success, not a reflection of your worth. Another key to moving beyond the fear of rejection is surrounding yourself with people who support and encourage you. When you have a strong support system, it's easier to bounce back from rejection. These people can offer perspective, advice, and a sense of reassurance when you need it most. They remind you that rejection is just a temporary experience and that you're capable of moving past it. With the support of others, rejection becomes less daunting because you have people who believe in you and help you see beyond the setback. At the same time, it's important to recognize that not everyone will understand or appreciate your journey. There will be people who don't support you, who judge you, or who criticize you. This is a natural part of life, and it doesn't mean you should take their opinions to heart. When we seek validation or approval from everyone around us, we set ourselves up for disappointment. Not everyone will like us, agree with us, or approve of our choices, and that's okay. What matters is that we stay true to ourselves and our values, regardless of what others think. Rejection isn't something to be feared or avoided. It's simply a part of life, and how we respond to it determines our growth and success. When we stop taking rejection personally and start using it as an opportunity for growth, we unlock the ability to move forward with resilience, courage, and confidence. Rejection no longer has the power to define us or hold us back. Instead, it becomes a tool for learning, redirection, and ultimately greater success. Chapter 12. The Strength of Emotional Independence. Emotional independence is something many of us overlook in the hustle of daily life, but it is a crucial skill that allows us to live for ourselves. It's the ability to manage your emotions and not allow others to dictate how you feel or how you should react. It means that while we may feel hurt or disappointed in certain situations, we don't let those feelings control us or define our actions. Emotional independence is about learning how to process emotions, understand where they come from, and choose how to respond to them in a healthy and balanced way. In a world that constantly asks us to fit into boxes or meet external expectations, it's easy to rely on others for emotional validation. When we seek approval, praise, or even sympathy from others to feel good about ourselves, we give away a piece of our emotional independence. In those moments, our sense of self-worth becomes dependent on others' opinions. Emotional independence teaches us that we don't need anyone else to make us feel whole or validated. We can find that within ourselves. The first step towards emotional independence is recognizing that we can control our responses, even if we can't always control what happens to us. Life doesn't always go as planned, and we face challenges, disappointments, and heartaches along the way. But how we react to those challenges is entirely within our power. When we take responsibility for our emotional responses, we stop blaming others for how we feel. We start recognizing that our emotions are our own, and we have the ability to navigate them in a way that supports our well-being. Take the time to reflect on the emotions that you often experience and how you respond to them. Do you allow feelings of anger, frustration, or sadness to dictate your actions? Or do you allow yourself to feel those emotions without being overwhelmed by them? Being emotionally independent doesn't mean you suppress your emotions or pretend they don't exist. Rather, it means acknowledging your emotions without letting them control you. It means understanding that feeling sad, angry, or upset is a natural part of being human, but those feelings do not need to dictate how you show up in the world. When we rely on external sources for our emotional well-being, we place ourselves in a vulnerable position. Other people's actions or words can easily affect our emotions, and that can leave us feeling helpless or powerless. Emotional independence allows us to take back control of how we feel and how we respond. We stop letting others dictate our mood or sense of self-worth. We learn to value ourselves enough that we no longer need constant validation from others. One of the most powerful aspects of emotional independence is the ability to forgive both others and ourselves. Holding on to resentment, anger, or hurt keeps us tethered to negative emotions that drain our energy. Emotional independence gives us the strength to let go of past grievances and move forward with a clear mind and open heart. This doesn't mean that we forget what happened or condone negative behavior, but it means that we release the emotional weight attached to those experiences. When we forgive, we free ourselves from the burden of carrying unnecessary emotional baggage. Another important aspect of emotional independence is learning to set emotional boundaries. It's about knowing where your emotional limits are and communicating those limits clearly with others. When you allow others to overstep your emotional boundaries, it can leave you feeling drained, overwhelmed, and taken advantage of. Emotional independence requires you to stand firm in your boundaries and protect your emotional well-being. This doesn't mean shutting people out or being cold. It means knowing when to say no and when to prioritize your own mental and emotional health. While emotional independence is essential for personal growth, it doesn't mean that we should isolate ourselves or avoid close relationships. It's about finding a healthy balance between being emotionally self-sufficient and being open to love, support, and connection. It's possible to rely on others for emotional support without becoming emotionally dependent on them. In healthy relationships, both people maintain their sense of emotional independence while still offering care, empathy, and support to one another. Another powerful tool for cultivating emotional independence is mindfulness. When we practice mindfulness, we learn to observe our thoughts and emotions without judgment. Instead of reacting automatically to difficult emotions, mindfulness helps us pause and take a step back. It allows us to process our feelings with a sense of clarity and understanding, rather than being swept away by them. Mindfulness gives us the space to choose how we want to respond to our emotions, rather than letting them dictate our actions. A key part of emotional independence is learning to trust yourself. When you trust your ability to navigate your emotions, you begin to feel more secure and confident in your decisions. Trusting yourself means knowing that you have the resilience to face whatever comes your way, even when it's difficult. It's about trusting that you are capable of processing and managing your feelings without relying on others to solve your problems for you. One of the most empowering things you can do to build emotional independence is to practice self-care. Taking care of your emotional health is just as important as taking care of your physical health. This means engaging in activities that nourish your soul, whether it's spending time in nature, practicing a hobby, journaling, or simply taking a break from the demands of everyday life. Self-care gives you the space and time to recharge, reflect, and reconnect with yourself. It helps you stay grounded and centered, which is essential for maintaining emotional independence. While emotional independence is a powerful tool, it's important to remember that it's not about shutting people out or pretending that emotions don't matter. It's about finding a balance between honoring your emotions and taking responsibility for them. It's about recognizing that you have the power to choose how you feel and how you respond to the world around you. Emotional independence doesn't mean being cold or distant. It means being in touch with yourself, knowing what you need, and being able to navigate your emotions in a healthy and constructive way. Ultimately, emotional independence gives you the strength to live for yourself. When you're emotionally independent, you're not relying on anyone else to dictate how you feel, how you should act, or what you should want. You create your own emotional landscape, one that is rooted in self-awareness, self-compassion, and self-respect. You stop seeking validation from others and start validating yourself. You recognize that your emotions are valid, but they don't have to define you. By building emotional independence, you empower yourself to live your life on your own terms, free from the weight of external expectations or emotional dependency. Chapter 13. Stop chasing relationships that don't serve you. It can be incredibly difficult to stop chasing relationships that drain us. These relationships, whether they are romantic, familial, or friendships, can leave us feeling unappreciated, exhausted, or even worse, stuck in cycles of dependency. Sometimes we hold on to them out of fear, habit, or a deep desire for acceptance, even when they don't contribute positively to our lives. This is the reality. Many people face the constant pursuit of connections that don't serve them well, often because we confuse familiarity with fulfillment or fear being alone. Realizing that you're chasing the wrong relationships is the first step toward freedom. It can be hard to admit that certain people in your life aren't helping you grow, and in fact might be keeping you from becoming your best self. These relationships can make you feel like you're constantly giving, but never receiving in return. You might feel emotionally drained after spending time with certain individuals, yet still continue to chase after their approval or attention. Why? Because it's easier to stay in a familiar situation than to step into the uncertainty of creating something better for yourself. It's crucial to understand that chasing relationships that don't serve you isn't just about romantic connections. This can apply to friendships, family relationships, or even work relationships where you feel undervalued or underappreciated. We often invest too much energy into trying to make certain relationships work when they clearly aren't aligned with who we are or what we need. It's hard to let go of people, especially when there are emotional attachments involved. But the longer you cling to relationships that don't bring out the best in you, the longer you delay your personal growth. One of the biggest issues that arise from unhealthy relationships is the loss of self. When we are constantly trying to meet the expectations of others or seeking validation from people who don't have our best interests at heart, we lose sight of who we are. Our actions, thoughts, and even our identity start to revolve around pleasing others, which ultimately leads to frustration, confusion, and unhappiness. Living for yourself means breaking free from this cycle and realizing that your happiness and well-being are not dependent on the approval of others. There is a stark difference between relationships that nourish and those that drain. Healthy relationships are built on mutual respect, trust, and understanding. They are the ones where you feel supported, seen, and valued for who you truly are. These kinds of connections help you grow and evolve. Unhealthy relationships, on the other hand, often leave you feeling like you're constantly walking on eggshells or sacrificing your own needs for the sake of someone else. The key to moving forward is recognizing these dynamics and having the courage to make a change. Stopping the pursuit of relationships that aren't serving you requires a shift in mindset. You must first understand that your time, energy, and emotional investment are valuable. When you chase relationships that drain you, you are essentially telling yourself that you don't deserve better, or that the cycle of disappointment is something you have to accept. The reality is that you deserve relationships that uplift and inspire you. You deserve connections that bring out the best in you and allow you to thrive. But you can't experience that unless you stop wasting energy on those that hold you back. It's also important to realize that not all relationships are meant to last forever. Some people come into your life for a season, and when that season ends, it's okay to let them go. Holding on to relationships out of fear of being alone or a sense of obligation can prevent you from experiencing new opportunities and connections that will serve you better in the long run. Just because someone has been in your life for a long time doesn't mean they need to be in your life forever. Letting go of toxic or draining relationships doesn't mean you have to cut people off harshly or without compassion. Sometimes, simply creating boundaries or limiting your time and energy spent on certain individuals can be enough to protect your emotional well-being. In some cases, it may mean having an honest conversation with someone and explaining that the relationship is no longer working for you. These conversations can be difficult, but they're necessary for your growth. By letting go of the people who no longer align with your values and goals, you make space for relationships that support your personal journey. Once you stop chasing relationships that don't serve you, it's time to focus on building those that do. Surround yourself with people who genuinely care about you, who respect your boundaries, and who encourage your growth. Invest in relationships where both parties are willing to put in the effort, communicate openly, and support each other through life's ups and downs. These types of relationships are worth pursuing. They are built on trust, love, and mutual understanding, and they will help you grow into the person you were always meant to be. Learning to stop chasing relationships that don't serve you also means learning how to enjoy your own company. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that you need someone else to feel complete, but in reality, you are whole as you are. It's possible to love and appreciate yourself without needing anyone else's validation. When you learn to be content and at peace with yourself, you will naturally start to attract relationships that reflect that self-respect and confidence. It's not always easy to walk away from people who have been a part of your life for a long time, but remember that living for yourself means making choices that align with your values, not your fear of being alone. The more you invest in healthy, supportive relationships and let go of the ones that hold you back, the more you will find yourself surrounded by people who appreciate and respect you for who you truly are. It's important to remind yourself that it's okay to outgrow people and situations. Just because you once had a strong connection with someone doesn't mean it's meant to last forever. As you grow and evolve, your needs and desires may change, and that's perfectly natural. There is no shame in recognizing that a particular relationship no longer serves you. The courage to let go and move forward is a powerful act of self-love. Ultimately, stopping the chase for relationships that don't serve you is about reclaiming your time, energy, and emotional health. It's about realizing that your value isn't tied to anyone else's approval and that you deserve relationships that contribute positively to your life. It's not about shutting people out, but rather making conscious choices to prioritize yourself and your well-being. By doing so, you open yourself up to a world of meaningful connections that support and empower you on your journey of self-growth. Chapter 14. Mastering the Art of Alone Time. Mastering the art of alone time is essential for anyone looking to live for themselves. Many people struggle with being alone, often viewing solitude as something to be avoided. There's a deep-rooted fear of isolation in our society, making it easy to assume that being alone means being lonely. The truth, however, is that learning to enjoy and make the most of time spent alone can be one of the most powerful skills for personal growth. Spending time alone gives you the space to reflect, recharge, and realign yourself with your goals and desires. It's an opportunity to connect with your inner self, to hear your thoughts clearly without the noise and distractions of the outside world. When you embrace being alone, you stop relying on others for validation and start developing a stronger sense of self-worth. You learn who you are when there's no one else around to shape or influence you. There's a noticeable difference between being alone and being lonely. Loneliness comes from feeling disconnected or undeserving of companionship, while being alone can be a choice, a time for personal reflection and growth. The key is to shift your mindset and stop fearing solitude. The more you embrace it, the more you'll realize how powerful it can be. It's in these quiet moments that creativity thrives, clarity emerges, and a deep sense of peace can settle within. The first step in mastering alone time is understanding that solitude isn't a punishment or something to fear. In fact, being comfortable alone is one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself. It's an opportunity to focus on your passions, to work on projects that matter to you, and to rediscover the things that make you happy outside of others' expectations. Being alone gives you the freedom to make decisions without the influence of others, and to carve out your own path in life. Many people find that when they spend more time alone, they begin to rediscover their own passions and interests. Without the constant need to please others or fit into a group, you can finally take the time to explore what truly excites and motivates you. Maybe it's a hobby you once loved but set aside, or a new interest you've always wanted to pursue. Whatever it is, alone time allows you to dive deeper into these things and cultivate a sense of fulfillment that comes from within. It's also in solitude that you develop mental resilience. When you're constantly surrounded by other people, it's easy to lose sight of your own thoughts and desires. Alone time, however, forces you to confront yourself, your strengths, weaknesses, and everything in between. This might seem uncomfortable at first, but it's a necessary process for growth. It allows you to work through your emotions, fears, and insecurities in a safe and private space. Instead of running away from difficult feelings, you learn to sit with them, process them, and move forward stronger. Mastering alone time also means learning to enjoy your own company without relying on external distractions. It's tempting to fill every moment with entertainment, scrolling through social media, watching television, or checking emails, but true solitude requires you to step away from these distractions and be fully present with yourself. This doesn't mean you have to sit in complete silence, but it does mean allowing yourself to enjoy moments without seeking constant stimulation. You can take a walk in nature, read a book, or simply sit and reflect. It's about becoming comfortable with the present moment and learning to enjoy the peace that comes with it. When you spend time alone, you also have the opportunity to reflect on your life, your choices, and your future. This is the time to evaluate where you are, where you've been, and where you want to go. Solitude can be the perfect opportunity to plan for the future, to set goals that align with your personal values, and to think critically about the direction your life is heading. Being alone provides the clarity needed to make important decisions and to take steps toward the life you want. Another benefit of embracing alone time is the chance to develop emotional independence. We often look to others for validation or emotional support, but relying too heavily on others for our emotional well-being can be unhealthy. When you spend time alone, you become more self-reliant. You learn how to manage your emotions, handle challenges, and find solutions to problems on your own. This doesn't mean that you should shut people out or reject help when it's needed, but rather that you develop a strong sense of inner stability that allows you to face the ups and downs of life with confidence. Of course, it's not always easy to adjust to being alone, especially if you've spent much of your life depending on others for emotional support or companionship. There may be moments of discomfort or even loneliness, but these feelings are part of the process. The more you practice being alone, the easier it becomes. Over time, you'll notice that instead of feeling anxious or restless when you're alone, you'll begin to feel more at peace, and even look forward to those moments of solitude. Learning to spend time alone doesn't mean that you should isolate yourself from others or cut yourself off from the world. It simply means that you've learned to enjoy your own company and to find fulfillment within yourself, regardless of external circumstances. By mastering the art of alone time, you can become more grounded, self-sufficient, and confident in who you are. There are many ways to enjoy and make the most of alone time. You can start by creating a space that feels comfortable and peaceful, whether it's a quiet corner in your home, a local park, or a favorite coffee shop. Fill this space with things that inspire you, whether it's a journal, a good book, or a piece of art. Allow yourself the freedom to explore your thoughts, feelings, and ideas without judgment or pressure from others. As you begin to embrace and enjoy your alone time, you'll find that it becomes less about avoiding others and more about reconnecting with yourself. Instead of relying on external validation or companionship, you learn to appreciate your own presence and to enjoy the quiet moments that life has to offer. You'll become more in tune with your own needs and desires, and you'll start to feel more confident in your ability to create the life you want that is not dependent on anyone else's approval or presence. The beauty of alone time is that it's not about being isolated or disconnected. It's about learning to reconnect with yourself. It's about giving yourself permission to be fully present in your own life and to trust yourself enough to navigate the world on your own terms. When you master the art of alone time, you unlock the power to live for yourself, to make choices that align with your values, and to create a life that is fulfilling and meaningful. It's in these moments of solitude that you truly find your own strength. Chapter 15. The courage to be yourself. Being yourself is often easier said than done. In a world full of expectations, judgments, and societal pressures, it can be incredibly difficult to show up authentically every day. But it is precisely in those moments when you embrace who you truly are that you find the power to live for yourself. The courage to be yourself comes from within. It starts with an acceptance of who you are, flaws, strengths, quirks, and all. The key is to stop trying to fit into molds that don't serve you. No one knows your life as you do, so no one else can tell you how to live it. Too often, we look for permission from others to be who we truly are. We seek approval and validation, hoping that others will accept us for who we are. But the truth is, true acceptance begins with you. In order to be yourself, you have to learn to trust your own instincts. It's easy to get caught up in other people's opinions, especially when it feels like they have the answers to your problems. But those answers don't always align with your truth. Your path is uniquely yours, and only you can decide what works best for you. When you stop relying on external sources of validation, you begin to develop a stronger connection with your true self. It's natural to feel fear when you think about showing your true self to the world. Fear of rejection, fear of judgment, or simply fear of not measuring up to others' standards. These fears can be paralyzing, but they don't have to define you. The more you challenge these fears, the easier it becomes to embrace who you are without hesitation. Remember, the people who are meant to be in your life will appreciate you for your authenticity, and those who aren't will fade away. Living authentically means being unapologetic about your choices, your values, and your actions. It means not watering yourself down to fit into someone else's expectations or sacrificing your needs for the comfort of others. When you embrace who you are, you allow yourself the freedom to live your life on your terms, not according to someone else's script. It might take time to build the confidence to step fully into your authenticity, but each small step is a victory in itself. You can start by recognizing and celebrating your individuality. Too often, we overlook the things that make us unique or downplay our personal qualities. We compare ourselves to others, wishing we were more like them. But in doing so, we forget the power that comes from embracing our own journey. The things that make you different are the things that make you special. These differences are the very qualities that will allow you to make a lasting impact in the world. When you stop trying to imitate others and start being yourself, you open up a whole new world of possibilities. As you begin to embrace who you truly are, you'll notice that life starts to feel easier. You're no longer putting on a mask or pretending to be something you're not. Instead of living for other people's expectations, you can focus on what truly matters to you. You can make decisions based on your values and your vision for your future, rather than trying to meet someone else's standards. This shift in mindset brings a sense of peace and fulfillment that is impossible to find when you're constantly trying to please everyone else. Living authentically also means giving yourself permission to make mistakes and grow. Perfection isn't the goal. Being true to yourself is. Every mistake, every setback, is an opportunity to learn and improve. When you're authentically you, you can take risks without the fear of judgment, because you know that your worth isn't determined by your successes or failures. You'll develop a resilience that allows you to bounce back from challenges with even greater strength and determination. Being yourself also requires that you let go of people who don't support or appreciate you. As you begin to show up more authentically in your life, you might find that certain relationships no longer serve you. It's painful, but it's also part of the process. Surround yourself with people who lift you up and encourage you to be your best self, not those who make you feel small or less than. Healthy relationships are built on mutual respect, understanding, and appreciation for who you truly are. When you embrace your authenticity, you will naturally attract the right people into your life, those who accept you for exactly who you are. One of the most empowering aspects of being yourself is that it gives you the freedom to pursue your dreams without hesitation. When you stop worrying about what others think, you're free to chase your goals with passion and conviction. The more you embrace your authentic self, the more you realize that you have everything you need to succeed within you. You are capable, resourceful, and deserving of the success you dream of. Remember, the world needs your authenticity. There's no one else like you, and that's your greatest strength. When you show up as your true self, you create space for others to do the same. Your authenticity can inspire those around you to embrace their own unique qualities and to live in alignment with their true selves. This is how real change happens, when individuals step into their power and encourage others to do the same. You have everything you need to live for yourself and to be true to who you are. It may not always be easy, and the road ahead may be filled with challenges. But as long as you remain committed to your authentic self, you will continue to grow stronger, wiser, and more fulfilled. The courage to be yourself is the key to unlocking a life of meaning, joy, and success. And the more you practice being true to yourself, the easier it becomes to live a life that reflects your deepest desires and values. Being yourself doesn't mean you'll never face difficulties, but it does mean you'll face them with clarity and confidence. When you stop pretending to be something you're not, you'll find that you can handle life's challenges with a new sense of purpose. The power of authenticity lies in the freedom it gives you to be who you are, unapologetically and without fear. And in that freedom, you will discover the strength to live for yourself, no matter what life throws your way. Remember, the key to living for yourself is not about pushing others away, but finding the strength to stand on your own and embrace who you truly are. It's about making choices that reflect your own values, needs, and desires. The moment you start living authentically, you'll discover a freedom and peace that no external validation can provide. It's your life, and it's time to live it on your terms.